I am a human rights lawyer, and I have been applying the law to defend people and human dignity for many years. Now, I'm in a situation when the law doesn't work. Russia, as a member of the UN Security Council, started a war of aggression, commits horrible atrocities against civilians, and the entire UN system of peace and security can't stop it. I have one question. How will we, in 21st century, defend human beings, their lives, their freedom, and their dignity? I pose this question not only as a citizen of a country that is defending itself against Russian aggression. I pose this question as a citizen of the world, because this is not just a war between two states. This is a war between two systems, authoritarianism and democracy. Russia started this war not in February 2022, but in February 2014. This was just after the Revolution of Dignity had ended in Ukraine. At that time, millions of people in Ukraine had bravely stood up against a corrupt authoritarian regime. They fought for the right to build a state in which the rights of each person are protected. The authorities are held accountable, the courts are independent, and the police do not beat peaceful student demonstrators. And they paid the ultimate price for this. The police shot more than 100 peaceful demonstrators in the center of the nation's capital. When the authoritarian regime collapsed, Ukraine got its chance for a democratic transformation. And to stop Ukraine on this path, Russia started this war. Russia occupied Crimea, part of the Lugansk and Donetsk regions, and last year expanded this war into a full-scale invasion. Because Putin is not afraid of NATO. Putin is afraid of the idea of freedom. Russia wants to convince the entire world that democracy, human rights, and rule of law are fake values, because they couldn't protect anyone in war. Russia wants to convince the world that a state with a powerful military potential and nuclear weapons can break the world order, dictate its rules for the international community, and even forcibly change internationally recognized borders. And if Russia succeeds, it will encourage authoritarian leaders in various parts of the world to do the same. Democratic governments will be forced to invest their money not in education, healthcare, culture, or business development, not in solving global problems like climate changes or social inequality, but in weapons. We'll witness an increase in the number of nuclear states, the emergence of robotic armies, and new weapons of mass destruction. If Russia succeeds, and this scenario comes true, we will find ourselves in a world which will be dangerous for everyone without any exception. Unpunished evil grows. The Russian military commit horrible war crimes in Chechnya, Moldova, Georgia, Mali, Syria, Libya, other countries of the world. They have never been punished. They believe they can do whatever they want. Since the large-scale invasion of Ukraine, we have been faced with unprecedented amount of war crimes. Russian troops deliberately destroy residential buildings, churches, schools, hospitals, attack evacuation corridors, establish filtration camp system, organize forcible deportations, commit abductions, rapes, tortures, and murders of civilians in the occupied territories. This is a conscious policy of its authoritarian regime. Russia uses war crimes as the methods of warfare. Russia attempts to break people's resistance and occupy the country by means of inflicting immense pain on civilians. And we document this pain. I have interviewed hundreds of people who survived captivity. They've told me how they were beaten, raped, electrically shocked on their genitalia, their nails torn away, their nails were drilled, how they were compelled to write with their own blood. One woman reported that her eye was dug out with a spoon. There is no military justification for such actions. Russians did these horrific things only because they could. War turns people into numbers. The scale of our crimes grows so fast that it's become impossible to recognize all the stories. But I will tell you one. This is a story of 62-year-old civilian Oleksandr Shelipov, who was killed by the Russian military near his own house. The tragedy received a huge media coverage only because it was the first court trial since February 24. In the court, his wife Katerina shared that her husband was an ordinary farmer, but he was her whole universe, and now she lost everything. People are not numbers. We must return people their names. We must ensure justice for all, regardless who the victims are, their social position, the type and level of cruelty they endured, and if international organizations or media are interested in their case. It's possible. New technologies allow us to document war crime in a way that we couldn't even dream of 15 years ago. The experience of Bellingcat and other investigators convincingly proved that we can restore the picture of the event without even being there. We still look at the world through the lens of the Nuremberg trials, when Nazi war criminals were tried only after Nazi regime had collapsed. But we are living in a new century. Justice should not depend on how and when the war ends. We cannot wait. The global approach to war crime justice needs to be changed. We must establish a special tribunal now and hold Putin, Lukashenko, and other war criminals accountable. I have been working with the law for many years, and I know for sure that if you can't rely on the legal mechanisms, you can always rely on people. We are used to thinking in categories of states and interstate organizations, but ordinary people have much more impact than they can even imagine. Immediately after the invasion, international organizations evacuated their personnel, and ordinary people supported those in the combat zone, took people out of the ruined cities, helped others survive under artillery's fire, rescued people trapped under the rubble of residential buildings, and broke through the encirclement to deliver humanitarian aid. Ordinary people started to do extraordinary things. And then it became obvious that ordinary people fighting for their freedom are stronger than the second strongest army of the world. When Russia invaded, democratic countries said, let's help Ukraine not to fail. We must instead think about helping Ukraine to win, because there is a significant difference between let's help Ukraine not to fail and let's help Ukraine to win fast. People in Ukraine want peace more than anyone else, but peace doesn't come when the country that was invaded stops fighting. That's not peace. That's occupation. And occupation is another form of war. Occupation is not about changing one state flag to another. Occupation means enforced disappearances, torture, sexual violence, forced adoption of your children, denial of identity, concentration camps, and mass graves. Democracies have to win wars, because only the spread of freedom make our world safer. And we need your support in this. There are many things that have no limitation in state borders. Freedom is one of them, as well as human solidarity.